Welcome to Healing from Within. I'm your host, Tony Valen. You can contact me, Tony, at TonyValen.com, or visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow the show on Twitter at TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing from Within with Tony Valen or the Tony Valen channel on YouTube. Let's check in with one of our previous guests.
Hi, this is Joanna Gerard here on behalf of Healing from Within with Tony Valen on Blog Talk Radio. You can contact me at my site, www.joannagerardpsychic.com, like my Facebook page, Joanna Gerard Psychic, or follow me on Twitter. Today, I want to discuss the 12 houses in the zodiac. As all of you know, we have different sun signs and different planets, but according to your individual time, city, state, day, and year of birth, each planet falls into a different house. A planet represents an energy, whereas the house that the planet is in represents the area in which the planet manifests, meaning that there's different areas of your life, and all of these are the different 12 houses in the natal chart. The first house, also called your rising sign or your ascendant, is how you come across, how you look, your physical appearance, how you come across to others as far as your personality goes. So the rising sign is really important because somebody could be a Taurus sun sign but have a Gemini rising sign, which would make them come across very differently than their actual sun sign. Also, in the first house, any planets or aspects to the first house are going to change the way people see you or how you come across to people in general. So the first house is really important when doing and erecting a natal chart. The second house is the house of your finances, but it's not only the house of your finances, it's what you value. So somebody who's, let's say, had Jupiter or Sagittarius on the cusp of the second house or in the second house would value their freedom maybe even more than actual physical, tangible money. Now, somebody who had Libra or Venus near the second house or in the second house would value how they look, the aesthetic part of their lives, and then something like Taurus could be actual money, or Saturn could be delays with money. So the second house is really what governs our finances and what we value as people. The third house, which is naturally ruled by Gemini, is our siblings. It's our neighbors, and it's communication. And this can be writing and speaking and all that kind of stuff. But also it's short distance travel. So you're not going to find anything like long distance or overseas in the third house. In the fourth house, we have our early life. This is really important because you look at any aspects or planets in the fourth house to determine what the circumstances were around this person's early life. Also, near the end of our lives, we look at the aspects and planets in the fourth house to see the circumstances around the end of our life. Planets here, or aspects to planets here, will describe one of your parents. This is typically the parent that is most likely the parent that was the least influenced in your life. This is the one maybe you were not as close to, but it still determines what that parent was like. And we're going by aspects and signs and planets and all of that stuff. The fifth house in your chart is love affairs. It's your children. As a matter of fact, it's your firstborn child. So any aspects or planets to the fifth house will describe your first child. Now, also, even though it's love affairs, it's not marriage. These are just people that you meet before you get married, or if you choose not to get married in this lifetime, these are the people that you meet. So these are your love affairs. It also rules creativity, children in general. The sixth house is your physical health, not your mental health. That's a whole different area of the chart. But with the physical health, we can see any aspects to the sixth house or signs there will show what areas might be a little potentially weak physically for you. For an example, if the sun was in the sixth house or aspects to the sun, particularly hard aspects to the sun, we would see problems with the heart area. In addition to that, if we have Venus and Neptune aspects together on the sixth house or near the sixth house, we see a potential for diabetes or sensitivity to sugar and also chemicals in general, because Neptune rules chemicals, drugs, poisoning, all of that kind of stuff. So the sixth house is also your small animals, your little dogs, your cats, and your work environment, including any co-workers that you deal with. This is not your big major career, but it is your co-workers. In the seventh house, we see our first marriage partner. And it's important to say that in astrology, we don't look at contracts. So if you live with somebody, no matter what, for an extended period of time, they're going to consider that a marriage. So we look at any aspect to this house to determine what our first marriage partner is like, what we're looking at. It's completely opposite of the ascendant in the first house, so it's on the descendant. And these are qualities that we don't possess in ourselves that we're looking for in somebody else. This also is the house of the second child if you have two children. So this house will describe anything about this child, the personality and demeanor of this kid. Also, we see partnerships in general, and this could be work partnerships in this house. In addition to that, you see legal matters, judges. This is the house that rules attorneys and justice. The 8th house, naturally ruled by Scorpio, is the house that rules death. And that doesn't mean just, your time on this planet is not, existing anymore. Also, transformation. So where we change, where we want to change. This is also the house of the afterlife, how interested you are in the afterlife, how you die. So in addition to the 4th house, we look at the 8th house to determine how our death is going to happen. Not that anybody necessarily wants to look at that. This is also the house of other people's money that's given to you. This is inheritance, that kind of money. Also, it's the house of taxes and sex. The 9th house is the house of higher education. This house is naturally ruled by Sagittarius. So in this house, we see foreign travel, not like the 3rd house where we see, local kind of stuff. This is actual foreign travel. Also the house of publishing. Along with this house, we find philosophy, that kind of thing. And like I said, higher education, so college and stuff like that. Somebody with Saturn there might, go to college later on in life because Saturn likes to delay things for whatever reason. So that's the 9th house. The 10th house, this is an important house because this is where your midheaven is found. If you look at a chart, you'll see a little something at the 10th that says MC, that stands for midheaven. This is your career standing. Not like the 6th house, which is the coworkers and the day-to-day kind of stuff we deal with at work. This is actually the kind of career you go into. Of course, astrology is a complicated science, so we have to find the ruler of the ruler of the ruler. But just to keep it basic, this is your persona in the public's eye. You're standing in your career. Also in this house, we find the parent that had the most influence in your life. Like I said before, in the 4th house is the parent that had the least influence. The 10th house is all about the parent that you were really close with. And sometimes it may not even be a positive relationship, but this person really influenced you one way or the other. People with a heavy stacked 10th house, lots of planets there, lots of aspects there. You find them quite often in the public eye. These are a lot of actors and politicians, and there are no mistakes in astrology. These people were born to do these kind of things. The 11th house is your friends, your groups and your organizations, any kind of humanitarian or charitable work going on. In Western astrology, which is our astrology, the 11th house also signifies sudden happenings and unexpected events because it is ruled by the sign Aquarius, and Aquarius is all about the unexpected. So it's a little bit different in the sidereal chart, which is the Vedic or the Eastern system, where I believe it's the 8th house that rules sudden events. But in ours, we look at the 11th house to see sudden changes going on. People with a lot of planets here are going to take on a very Aquarian nature. They're going to be humanitarian. They probably have a lot of friends and a wide variety of friends. And lastly, we have the 12th house, which is the house of service or suffering. This is the house that does not have the best reputation if you pick up an astrology book. But the truth is that this house rules the subconscious mind, our dreams. It rules psychic ability. It also rules self-undoing. It's where we are our own worst enemies. It also rules hidden enemies, and the 7th house rules open enemies. So if you kind of get that feeling that maybe a friend isn't really a friend, you can find them in the 12th house. This is the house where we hide things from ourselves. We have secret or clandestine relationships in this house. We also find our addictions and our mental health is here. But along with that, it's not all bad because the 12th house is the house of hidden talents. This is the house where you find that, you really can do things even though you didn't think you were going to do them. I want to thank everyone for listening today. Again, this is Joanna Gerard here on behalf of Healing from Within with Tony Valen on Blog Talk Radio. Again, feel free to contact me at my site, www.joannagerardpsychic.com. Don't forget to like my Facebook page, Joanna Gerard Psychic, and of course, follow me on Twitter. Thank you.
Joining us on today's show is Ann Wilkinson. Ann is an Irish, wise woman practicing Celtic arts for 40 years. She does Irish palmistry and past life regression therapy. You can learn more about Ann by going to www.enchantedearthdunedin.com. Look for her under the tab for readers and healers. In person, you can go to Enchanted Earth located at 733 State Road 580, Dunedin, Florida, 34698. The phone number is 727-216-6594. Like Enchanted Earth on Facebook. Ann, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you, Tony?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's get started. The first question I always ask my guests are, what are your gifts and how did your journey begin?
Oh, boy. A long time ago, I started realizing that I was not a regular kid when I was about 10 and that there were things you just didn't talk about. Being able to see things that other people couldn't see, and including my mother, which was rough. Because when you're little and you point at something and tell your mother it's there and she keeps saying, no, you don't see that, it made life kind of difficult. As I got older, it got easier, and I realized that one of my aunts, my father's sister, in fact, also could see the same things I did, and she gave me a lot of encouragement, and it made me feel like I wasn't so weird. When I was in Philadelphia, where I grew up, my downstairs neighbor was a Máthair Críonna. She was a wise mother. She had 2 sons and no daughters, and she thought her daughters-in-law were ninnies, as she put it, and she figured it was really going to be hard to try to teach them anything. But I was there, I spoke a little Gaelic, and she liked me, so she started teaching me. And I became a Máthair when I was about 20, I guess.
You called yourself a mother. Does this word have a different meaning than the meaning we know, or a title?
It's a title, actually. Most villages had at least 2 wise women. One was a physical herbalist who took care of your body, and the other one was a spiritual herbalist who took care of your spiritual life and your head and your emotional health. And my family was pretty much the second ones. The lady that taught me was a Máthair Críonna, which is a wise mother. And that's what you did, was you helped them deal with their lives.
So basically, it was kind of like the village therapist?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay. Can you tell us about spiritual herbology?
Okay, spiritual herbology is different than physical herbology. Physical herbology, you ingest or use herbs as poultices or salves or other things to heal your body. Spiritual herbology is working on your head, again, and your heart and your spiritual beliefs and your spiritual life. Let me see how I can explain that. Most people, well, only rich people could read or write. Everybody else learned through rote memorization or storytelling. So when you use spiritual herbology, you do storytelling. Each herb or each item has a story that goes with it. And the story is basically to teach you a lesson. They're called lessons. If you had a bad temper, I would give you evergreen for patience and sand for patience and tolerance and copper for spiritual forgiveness, the ability to let things go. And I would say, now the next time you get mad at somebody, you put this in your hand, and you think, is this going to matter in a month? And if it's not, you start letting things go, and you stop going into fits of temper. And it's just to teach people how to change the way they think about things, because if you change the way you think about things, you change everything.
So anything that you ever gave to people, were they just things that they held in their hand? Was it ever something they have to take in internally? Or
No. Actually, no. I make, I guess the only word we could use now is medicine bags. We call them pocket flats. They're Irish pocket flats. It's a small square of material that's sewn shut, and the herbs are inside it. And you're able to feel them through the material normally, or through the leather. I use leather a lot, too, like a suede, that very fine leather. I would tell them, keep that in your pocket or your purse or somewhere where you can get your hand on it. And it's not the herbs themselves that are magic. The stories that go with each one is.
Of course, these are individualized based on whatever the person is having issues with. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
My next question was going to be about the medicine bags, but you already explained that. So I wanted to go on to the next one and ask you, Irish palmistry. What is it, and how do you use it in your readings?
Okay, Irish palmistry is different than Romany palmistry. Standard palmistry, they care about the shape of your hand and the length of your fingers, and I don't care about that. We pay more attention to how your hands fall, and because that means a lot. I don't really care what you came in with. I care what you did with it. You get lines in your hands just like you get lines in your face. If you smile, you get those little wrinkles up near your eyes. If you frown, you get those ones between your brows. How you use your hands in your everyday work puts lines in your hands. Your palms actually change over the years. Your fingertips do not. You can't put a line there. But your palms do. It differs from standard palmistry in that a couple of the lines are reversed. They are more for a life reading than they are for future. There's some things that will show for the future, but very little. In fact, it's mostly showing where you've been, where you are, what you can improve, what's missing. And that's basically what it'll show me, was where you are.
Where did you learn that, or how long did it take you to master that? Or is it something that just comes to you intuitively?
It's both, actually. The thing is when I sit down with somebody and touch their hands like that to start reading their hands, often you'll pick things up from them immediately. If I don't, I'll look at the lines and you'll still get a good reading. If it takes longer to make a connection, it's a good way to start. I also found out that I did learn that also from my Máthair. She taught me that also. It's a good way to start with somebody because you have an idea more of what sometimes what people tell you isn't always the truth. And when you look at your hands, you can pretty much see where they really are.
That's interesting. So it's kind of like empathically, you're kind of reading them from their palms?
Yes, often. But it's also where the lines are and how they fall. What lines are short, what lines are the right length, what lines cut through them, and all that's going to matter.
Are you able to tell how long a person is going to live by looking at the palm, or is that something?
No, that's God territory.
Oh, okay. Because there was I remember someone reading my palm or something, and then they would say, "Oh, this is your lifeline, and you're going to live a long time."
That's old. That's, like I said, standard palmistry. That's Romany palmistry.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, what we look at is not so much the length of a line, but the depth of it.
What other gifts do you do, or what other tools do you use when someone comes in to ask for you, or when customers come to you, do they already know what they need and they just ask you for your different type of services?
Most of the time, I'll sit down and talk to them. Sometimes I'll just do a straight reading, and they'll ask questions, of course, but I'm normally able to answer questions. I'm clairsentient and claircognizant. I just know stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't always see something. I don't always hear things, but I just know. It's just a clear knowing.
Well, of course, being psychic, you would know that. How long have you been working at Enchanted Earth?
About 2.5, almost 3 years now.
Wonderful. Wow. So I imagine that you have a pretty big customer base from that.
Yes, actually we do. The one thing I love about working in this particular place is that clients don't belong to a person. You know what I'm saying? So somebody that will come in and see me one time will see another reader, another time will see another reader, another time, and then come back and see me. And this is normal. So I like that.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. This is Tony Valen, Healing from Within. You can contact me, Tony at TonyValen.com, or visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow the show on Twitter at TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing from Within with Tony Valen, or search for the Tony Valen channel on YouTube. We're talking to our guest, Ann Wilkinson. Ann is an Irish wise woman practicing Celtic arts for 40 years. She does Irish palmistry and past life regression therapy. You can learn more about Ann by going to EnchantedEarth.com. Look for her under the Readers and Healers tab. In person, you can go to Enchanted Earth, located at 733 State Road, 580 Dunedin, Florida, 34698. Phone number 727-216-6594. Like Enchanted Earth on Facebook. And can you tell us about past life regression?
Yes, that's something that I know some people will do that in a group setting. I really don't like to do that. I think people need more individual attention than that. It's a very personal journey, and I don't really like doing it in groups. I don't really do single sessions. I was certified in 1997 by Stephen Laval through the Hypnodyne Foundation. There weren't a whole lot of people certified at that time. When I first started working with hypnosis, I worked with a lot of cancer patients, and mainly in pain relief and therapy enhancement. Things like a woman who was going in for radiation therapy. We talked, and I had her convinced after 2 sessions with me that radiation couldn't harm healthy tissue.
Wow. So the cancer patients and past life regression, have you ever found that doing these past life regressions, you're able to tap into a past memory or a past life and able to solve something that they may be going through in this life?
Absolutely. Normally, the first regression that you do, I never lead anybody anywhere. I open doors for you and let you go play. And I allow people to tell me where they are and what they are doing. You don't ask leading questions. I'll say things like, what's on your feet? Is it daytime or nighttime? Are you by yourself? What's your name? How old are you? What are you wearing?
Yeah.
And the gaps start filling in, and then before I know it, they are telling me the story. My job is to facilitate that and help them through it, and to be there if something isn't right. I've heard people say, first of all, hypnosis is all it is relaxation, focus, and suggestion. You are in a very light state. Everybody thinks when you're hypnotized, you're going to be asleep. You're not asleep. You can hear everything I'm saying. The first thing I do is tell people that they're not hearing outside noises, and because they are already relaxed and focused, they stop hearing outside noises. They have decided to not hear outside noises, and they can hear me, and I can hear them. And I allow them to tell me the story of where they are, who they are, what they're doing, what their lives were like. And they almost always walk away with something that they really needed. The very first time you do this especially is when you see what you need to see right now to help you in your present life.
And like you mentioned before, I know that hypnosis is used or incorporated into this process. What type of training is required, or is any training required really for that?
I honestly think it's a good idea to know what you're doing.
Of course.
I really think it's a good idea if you're going to facilitate something like that you do have some training. I had like a 40-hour class worth of training, which is like a good amount, where we studied the actual. You did your book work first. You studied what can happen, what will happen, and then you learned practical applications for what you were doing. I didn't just dive in. We'd practice on each other in classes, and we get really good at self-trancing. We get good at pain control and other things, and it was a wonderful class. It was a great study, and the more I did it, the more I liked it. And when we got into things like past life, they told us things like, what do you do if someone starts to get scared, or what do you do if somebody starts to panic? The first thing I do when they're starting to go down is tell them that if they lift their finger, just lift a finger, I'll bring them back. I also tell them if I notice they're starting to get agitated because I'm watching them the entire time, I will tell them that I want you to step back and realize this is just a movie. You're just watching pictures, and that this can hurt you. And
very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, there are ways to deal with things. There is no inherent risk to this at all.
So what happens if someone comes up to you, and I'm sure you've encountered this before in the past, they want to do regression therapy with you, but they're afraid that you're going to make them scream like a monkey or something?
There's cluck like a chicken. It's the phrase we usually use.
Yeah.
Like I haven't heard before. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do, and why would I?
Yeah.
As I said, this is not my journey. Yeah. All I'm going to do is help you open your own doors. This is not my journey. It's your journey. And if you're concerned about something like that, I would have you speak to somebody else that already worked with.
What is the difference between hypnosis and meditation?
Very little. Actually, it's somebody that meditates is normally very easy to go down because they know how to relax their bodies. So, yeah, it's very similar.
And the reason I was asking, because that's what I was thinking as you were telling me about the process. So you would consider this process a healing process, right?
Oh, very much, very much. It's a big eye-opener.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how does your technique differ from other therapists that anyone would go to?
Some people will lead you too much. And that way, they're shaping what they want to see instead of what you want to see. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that does.
I don't lead somebody. There can only be so many Cleopatras, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to hear that. I want to hear about your real life, where you really were. And I'm not going to lead you in any direction. Somebody could come to me saying they're fascinated by Egypt. I'm not going to say, when were you in Egypt? I'm going to say, what was on your feet?
Oh.
Some therapists do actually lead you in the direction they think you want to go instead of letting the process unfold naturally.
So you need to be careful with who you go to, right?
Yes, actually, I think you do.
Yeah.
I think you need to talk to the person directly and see if you are comfortable, just like any other therapist. If somebody is not comfortable with me, I don't know how well they're going to relax.
Do you think that some of these therapists could actually cause more damage than help by doing these suggestive things?
Yeah, I do, actually. It is not my job to lead you anywhere. It's my job to let you open doors, to be there to help you. If you can't turn the knob, that's it.
Yeah.
You really need to talk to somebody before you go into something like this, because there are people that we all know that there's the Madame Jajas out there. There's the unscrupulous people that will take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And it's better to be in a controlled setting, like at the shop. We have a wonderful room to do things like this, and there's people outside of the room, and you know it. Okay, I mean, it's not. This is a one-on-one session in a building where there's people. So I think that you need to make sure that you're with somebody that you can trust, and you need to make sure that you're in a place that's safe and nurturing, people that are safe and nurturing, and where you feel comfortable.
The issues that are solved, I know they're emotional. I know a lot of the emotional and mental issues can be solved, or at least I'm assuming. What about physical issues? Have you ever seen anyone come out of a physical issue after doing a past life regression?
Not a whole lot. And what they don't do normally is our physical issues. Okay, let me see if I can explain this. Your body's your house. You live in there. When it's gone, so are you. Game over. As far as physical issues go, I don't know how many you carry into a life, because you are a soul. You have a body.
Yeah.
And if each time you come in, sometimes what is not correct in the body is also going to help you through this life. I have fibromyalgia, and it taught me to take my time and to enjoy my good moments. And I would not have known that if I did not have some physical drawbacks. I think physical drawbacks are often there for a reason. I don't know that doing a past life regression, I don't know that you carry a physical drawback in with you. I see more emotional drawbacks like fears, fear of heights, fear of water, fear of fire. Not as much physical, no. Although hypnotherapy is very good for certain physical problems. The reason I got into it in the first place was for pain control for myself, and for relief from insomnia for myself.
Have you ever had a session with someone that has had some deep, dark memories, and the session had to come to a sudden end?
I've never had to come to a sudden end. I have, as I said, I will walk someone away from it and get them to detach from it. I did run into one situation once many years ago where we started going backwards, and we got down to this person in a younger age, and apparently I realized that we had to get them out of that place and either go forward or go back fast, because where we were was not good in this life. They had a childhood trauma. I got past that quickly. I skimmed over it. We went past it into before they were born. Yeah, that was rough. I've run into that more than I've run into anything else. I've seen people get agitated in a past life experience where they are reviewing past life, and I will always tell them that, okay, we're going to step back. You're just watching picture. You're who you are now, and you're just watching this picture of who you were then. It's okay. Once you pull them away from it, they'll look at it, and even though they're frightened and even though they're agitated, they now understand that this shadow cannot hurt them. And once they know that, they'll actually it's like watching a car wreck. They can't look away. You hold them in space, but you hold them gently and as gently as possible. They tell me, I don't want to be here, I'll get them out.
Without giving names, could you tell us some of your favorite experiences and some of your least favorite?
I'll start with my least.
Okay.
I occasionally run into somebody who cannot go down. It's very rare. I've had it happen to me exactly twice in all these years, where I had someone I could not get down into a relaxed state. People that are hypervigilant or very nervous, occasionally it's hard. And as I have to tell them, I'm not hypnotizing you, you are. I'm just here to keep you safe.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this, you are. So you don't have to be afraid of me. because I'm not doing anything. I had one person who didn't have visualization skills and couldn't see anything. And then I worked on something else. I said, what do you feel? What can you see? Or what can you hear?
Yeah.
Can you smell anything? And when you start giving them that, the visual creeps in. But occasionally people have trouble at first if you show them different ways instead of letting them be panicked that they can't see right away. My very favorites, though, was I was working with a little boy who was a cancer patient, and this will just give you an idea of the power of hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
You can't induce a child. You can't tell a child, your eyes are heavy, your arms are heavy. They don't understand. So what I used to do was take handheld Pac-Man games with me and them to play that. And while they were playing that, I would sit there and wait for them to make what I call the TV face, which means their face just kind of goes slack and they're concentrating on what they're doing. You've got focus and relaxation right now, so you can start talking to them. And I remember telling this little fella, I said, you see how that Pac-Man's going across and it's eating all the little dots? And he went, uh-huh. And I said, well, when they put the chemotherapy in your body, what's going to happen is that it's going to go in there and it's going to eat all the bad cancer cells. Just like he's eaten up all those. It's going to eat up all the bad things. And little boy said, uh-huh. And the first time he went in for his chemotherapy sessions, he had leukemia, very virulent.
Yeah.
And they put him in the bed and they propped up the back. And the minute they put in the IV, he closed his eyes, dropped his head back, and his hands came up in the air, and he was moving his thumbs. And his mother burst into tears. And the nurse said, what's wrong? She goes, and he's playing Pac-Man.
Oh, wow.
And he beat it. He beat it.
Oh, that's
against
wonderful.
The odds, he beat it. You're in charge of. We're in charge of our bodies, and we forget that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I try to teach people is that you're in charge, and you can control what goes on more than you do. I work really hard to get people to believe that, and once they do, they can handle a lot of things they didn't think they could.
What would you say to someone that comes up to you and tells you that they do not believe in past lives?
Oh, I'd say, well, it's not something you believe in or don't believe in. It's a fact you eventually accept.
Yeah.
Which got me laughed out by. Well, I had a girlfriend who is one of my very dearest friends, and for the first 5 years of her life with me, she was raised in a fundamentalist Christian family, very, very rough fundamentalist family. She got her ears pierced. Her father threw her down the back steps and called her Jezebel. One of those, okay?
Yeah.
And I decided that this wasn't good. So I spent the next several years of my life royally screwing up her religious education.
Yeah.
And
did it work?
Yes, absolutely. What I basically did was let her think for herself. And we talked all the time and had very deep, heavy discussions. And I didn't want her to believe what I believed. I wanted her to believe what she believed and find her own path. It was really important to me that she did that because she was so unhappy with what she had been taught. And I wanted her to be happy and have a good relationship with higher beings and higher powers. So we did a lot of that, but that's exactly the same question. The thing we used to discuss. She'd say, oh, no, I still believe in heaven and hell. I don't believe in reincarnation. I said, well, it's not something you believe in. It's a fact you eventually accept. And she used to turn around, look at me, and say, you are so damn arrogant. But now she does believe in it.
There you go. Exactly. It's a good thing you mentioned. You answered that question, and you actually answered the second question. I was going to ask you about the Christian community. Besides, how do they respond to you and what you do?
Well, actually, let's see. My own religious beliefs are very eclectic. I consider myself a born-again Episcopal pagan. And when I say that, it's goofy, but it's true. I consider myself a primitive Christian. I think I'm what was around before they had dogma, legalities, and franchising. I think that, again, whenever religion becomes more about politics, it's no longer about a belief. And I think that when it comes to Christianity, the main issue I have is that too many people worship the man and forget the message. And the message is damn good. It's good. And I get angry that people don't realize that love your neighbor as yourself means that. And I get angry that they don't understand that forgiveness is everything. And letting things go is everything. And caring for people just like they are is everything. And in that respect, I still have a lot of my Christian beliefs. I believe I'm a kind of an expanded Christian where I can also see other things and their merits, and I believe those too. I think that religion is really the acceptance of a series of personal truths, and that's a great thought, but what's true?
Yeah.
So I became obsessed, actually. Religion was not a passion with me, it was an obsession. I still study. I have books on every religion you can imagine. I've read everything. I have chanted with Buddhists and danced with Krishnas and shouted with the Pentecostals and spoken in tongues with the Apostolics. And I've been dunked by Baptists 4 times than you can imagine. And I've said rosaries with the Catholics. And I've run in the woods with the pagans. And I still do this. I'm still looking for all my own truths. Once you have your series of personal truths and you have your own set of beliefs, nobody can take that away from you. So I keep studying and I keep listening and I keep talking. And I've embarrassed my family and friends for years. I honestly have, Tony. If you take me somewhere and somebody tells me what religion they are, I'm going to quiz them, and I can't help it. I'm going to ask them every question I can. Well, what does your religion say about this? And what do they say about this? And what do they believe about that? And first of all, I was flabbergasted by the number of people who do not even know the tenets of the religion they profess to espouse. It's beyond me.
Yeah.
To say that they believe in this, but they don't even know what this is always shocking. But when you do run into somebody that does understand the tenets, I will listen to everything they have to say. You can't just ask questions. You got to listen to the answers. And I would sit there enraptured and listen to everything they've said. I found out you will have one of several reactions. The first one is indifference, as in, well, okay, if that blows your skirt up, fine. Not me so much, but all right, I can see that. And the second one is revulsion, as in, no dead goats in my backyard, thank you.
Oh.
And the third one is laughing out loud, which is not polite, but occasionally occurs, trust me.
Yeah.
I have actually laughed. I didn't mean to, but I couldn't help it. And the fourth one, occasionally somebody will say something, and you just get overwhelmed for a minute, and it takes your breath away, or you get chills, or you go, I know this one, I know this. And you found one. And when you find one, nobody can take it away from you, and it belongs to you. And it falls into a hole in your heart you didn't know was there. And when you have enough of them, you have a religion. So as far as Christianity goes, I still have my Christian bents. I grew up in a family where I had a grandmother who went to Mass every Sunday, every single day at 6 a.m, and would do Rosary Society with the old ladies 4 days a week. But she also left whiskey out back for the fairies, and God forbid you left a hat on the bed or shoes on the table.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So I grew up in this odd dichotomy, so it didn't seem strange to me to have more than one set of beliefs.
Absolutely. So that's where the eclectic religion came
Very
from.
Very much. They will, if somebody comes into the shop that's of a Christian bent, they will often sit with me because I understand that.
So let me ask you the next question I was going to ask about past life regression.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, or at least, you tell me, I've always been told that in past life regressions, people will have different identities come forward. Is that true? And have you ever had someone come up with an identity in a past life that is not human?
No, I've never seen anybody with one that is not human. I think if you are human, you've always been a human. As I said, you have a body, you are a soul. And I think your soul retains its integrity no matter what body it's been in. I have never seen anybody be anything but a human. I have seen men be women and women be men. That is not unusual. because it's just the wrapper. It's not the soul. I don't think your soul has a masculine or a feminine bent. I think your body does. And that's just DNA and hormones, and it depends on which one you choose or which one you go into as you come into a new life. But I have seen people that will tell me, I've had women tell me that they were men. I've had men tell me that they were women. So that doesn't seem strange to me, but I've never seen anybody be anything but a human. I know in Hindustani and in other Eastern religions, when they view reincarnation, they believe we evolved from lower beings. I do not really buy that. That's my personal bent on it. I don't know that everybody would agree with that. That's just how I see it, and I don't expect everybody to see it the same way I do. But I have never seen it in a regression, have anybody be anything but a human being. Angels are not human beings. They are a whole different species.
Right.
They're, the angelic beings are not people. So I don't believe that when you die, you become an angel. And so basically, you are what you are at that soul level, and that will inhabit different physical beings, but I've never seen anything but human.
Tell us about your Celtic studies that you teach at Enchanted Earth.
Well, it's Celt. There is no soft C in Gaelic.
Oh, what did I say? Did I?
Well, Celtic, because everybody's used to seeing the Boston Celtics, but they're not.
Oh, God,
yep.
Celtic.
But CELT is Celt. And I teach Celtic studies. By that, we always start out with history, which is who were the Celts, where did they live, what kind of lives did they have, what were the roles of women, what were the roles of men, what was their political structure as far as who was in charge, things like this. We talk a lot about history, and we also talk a lot about their religious beliefs. All Druids were Celts. All Celts were not Druids. And we talked about how easy it was to convert the Celts from their pagan beliefs to Christian beliefs, and why. Basically, the higher up you were on the food chain as a Druid, the higher Druids were celibate. And as such, when the Celts were introduced to Christians, well, their priests were celibate, so they must be holy men. And everything was done in threes. All learning and all manifestation was done in threes with the Celts. They call them the triads. When you start learning Druidic studies, most everything you learn is in threes. Like, if the question is, what is a man? If he is what others perceive him to be, what he thinks he is, and what he really is. And that's one of the triads that you learn. It's also a Druidic triad is to know, to dare, and to keep silent is the duty of a Druid. It's also to observe, to experience, and to understand. Everything's in threes. So when they showed up we had Mother, Maid, and Crone, and they showed up with Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. But they had a Virgin Mother there. They must know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to convert the Celts. So we talk a lot about the history, and then we do a lot of the Druidic studies, the triads, and what the Druids believed. And the thing I love about that religion more than anything, I think, is the fact that it evolved, and there aren't that many rules. Wiccans have their Wiccan Rede, and they have very set and structured things for their rituals in most cases. We do not. There's not a whole lot of structure. And I kind of like that. It leaves you room to grow. I tell my students that you have to be willing to experiment, try things you've never thought about trying, fail abysmally, and laugh at yourself. Right. And if you can't go, that didn't work, you're not going to make it in my class. So I have them understand not to take themselves so seriously and to enjoy the experience more, and the experience of living as a human being more than they do, to enjoy being who they are and to laugh. I don't take myself that seriously. When I start a class, the first thing I do is pray that I'm half as smart as everybody thinks I am.
And if people wanted to take your class, how can they contact you?
Through the shop is the best way. They can get me through Enchanted Earth. I have beginning Celtic studies on the first Tuesday of every month. My advanced class is the second Tuesday. And the fourth one, I normally have something different, either Celtic astrology or OM, which is an Irish alphabet, 25 characters, very old. that is also used for divination and other things. I love my Celtic students. I love them to death. They're just wonderful. Our classes run very well. I start a new freshman class every year now because my advanced students get so far ahead. I have to.
Yeah.
But they learn a little Gaelic. They learn different ways to do rituals than they have. They learn different ways to do magic than they have. I've had people say, one of my students is a riot. She always says, "But how do I do?" I say, "It's not Harry Potter potions class. There's no set formulas for this. I want you to feel it out for yourself." I encourage them to do intuitive work. I encourage them to, I said, if you're thinking about what colors you have to have out and what goes where and what you have to say, you're no longer focused on your intention. So that's what I work with them on more than anything, is teaching them different ways to approach things than they've seen before.
Do you offer these classes in person only, or is there other ways you offer the classes?
Right now it's in person. We have been talking about starting classes, virtual classes, and Skyping, because it is something that I interact with. I can't just take lessons, but I think lectures are boring. And I think that you need a chance to do hands-on with somebody who does what I do. I think it's important to sit down. We interact a lot. I ask them questions.
Right.
And I can't do that if I can't hear you answer. So we're honestly thinking about setting up a computer where we could Skype and they could actually be in the class, in the classroom with
Absolutely.
us.
That's wonderful. So I guess that kind of takes care of my next question, which was, do you offer DVDs or recordings of your classes for purchase? But you just said it was...
It's very interactive. I want it to stay that way, actually. I think it's important to have that kind of personal connection with your students, where they can ask me questions, and I like that. I like it when they're curious and when they're engaged. I think that's the best way to learn.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to make sure I correct myself. It's Celtic studies, not Celtic.
Celtic studies, correct.
Got it. What's next for Ann Wilkinson?
Oh, boy. I love what I'm doing. If there was ever an ideal job, I've got it. I get to sit with people and read with them, and I get to help them with their problems, and I get to help them find new ways of looking at their lives and to get past some of the blocks that we have and to let go of stuff that doesn't matter and to learn new things. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. I love it. I love where I am now in my life. I'm going to be 62 next week, and I never thought I'd get here. Thank you. I never thought I'd get here, so I'm really, really happy that I am here and that I have the people around me I do, and that I have the opportunity to work with the people that come in the store.
And that is what life is all about, being
truly happy. You got it. Yep,
absolutely.
It is.
Well, I want to thank you very much for being on our show, Ann.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you. It's been an education. I like it when you make me think, and I have to think of answers.
Awesome.
So it's kind of nice to make me articulate things that are going on. I appreciate that.
All right, thanks to Ann Wilkinson. You can learn more about Ann by going to EnchantedEarthDunedin.com. Look for her under the Readers and Healers tab. In person, you can go to Enchanted Earth, located at 733 State Road, 580, Dunedin, Florida. The phone number is 727-216-6594. Like Enchanted Earth on Facebook. You are listening to Healing from Within with Tony Valen on Blog Talk Radio, airing Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Contact me directly, Tony@TonyValen.com. Please follow the show on Twitter. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing from Within with Tony Valen or look for the Tony Valen channel on YouTube. Thank you so much, and love and light from all of us here at Healing from Within.